What's going on, y'all? This is your boy Petry Perfect, and we are back for another movie review. In today's movie, I just left the theaters and I just saw one of the most anticipated movies of the year, Superman, James Gunn, new DCU movie. We got to talk about it. But before we do, I need you all to go and like and subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell icon so you don't miss a video when we go live or when we post a video. Are you about to go look at Superman? Are you willing to see it this weekend? Are you excited about it? Let me know in the comments. We got to talk about it though. Fresh out the movie theater. I'm about an hour-ish removed from leaving the movie theater, and I had some time to think about it, and I still kind of feel the same way I did when I left the theater, and that is I absolutely loved this movie. This movie had everything that you could ask for in a Superman film. I think it did a great job differentiating itself from the Man of Steel, the Henry Cavill version of the movie, and giving us a new, fresh, and open look at the character Superman. Superman is a very hard character to tell stories about because he's all powerful. He's so mighty. You need to either have someone that you have to find someone that matches his power level. He doesn't really have any weakness other than kryptonite, and that's a material that you can't even find on this planet. So it takes a lot to tell the story of of an all powerful character like Superman. But James Gunn, which we knew he would because of the Guardians of the Galaxy that he did in the Marvel Universe, we knew that this was going to be a great film, and that it was. One of the many things you have to love about this movie is just how geeky and nerdy that it is. This movie, no, this is no spoiler, so I'm gonna make sure if you're watching this video, please, I'm not gonna spoil it. This is just an overall general review. I'll make another video if you want of more of the spoiler things of this movie. But this movie kind of, when it gets started, we're already in the DCU. There is no world building. There is no Superman origin stories. There's nothing like that. We're already right slap dab in the middle of all the action, and we don't need to see all these different origins. We don't need to see him leaving Krypton and going on, and the parents putting him in the ship and then sending the ship off. We've seen that over and over and over and over again, and this movie does a really good job of kind of explaining what happened. He throws some lines in there explaining, hey, my parents did this or whatever the case can be, and that was kind of our origin, kind of the backstory, just in case you were under a rock or you was just born yesterday and didn't know the story of Superman. I do believe that all of James Gunn DCU movies will be like this, but that's something we'll talk about towards the end. This movie also does a good job of balancing the other characters. So it's in a sense kind of like Superman and Friends, but you do have Green Lantern. You do have Hawk Girl. You do have Mr. Terrific, which was amazing. I kind of first started knowing about Mr. Terrific during the Green Arrowverse TV shows. Mr. Terrific was a character on there, and he was awesome. His character in the movie is so different than the character we got to know in the TV show. So that's always refreshing. But it was time for him to get his big debut. And knowing James Gunn, same thing with the Guardians, he was going to find those C-list characters and make them into stars. Besides the Green Lantern, is an A-list Justice League member, but Hawk Girl and Mr. Terrific are not. There are other characters and other celebrity guest appearances too, but it's just very minimum. But it was still cool to see these particular people that was in the movie. Moving on, Lois Lane and all these other Jimmy Olsen, all these other characters that were in it, the Daily Planet, the staff there, all of these people in it, they all did their supporting parts. His Earth parents, they did an amazing job. You didn't get many scenes with them, but the few scenes that you did get, they were very, very either funny or very, very powerful scenes. You this movie definitely had a lot of heart, and this movie definitely had a lot of hope. Superman is a character for hope. He gives people hope. For him, he believes he's doing the right thing by interfering in otherworldly problems, and that's something that you see in the trailer. So no spoiler, but he feels like he has to do something because that's what he felt like his destiny was to make humanity and make Earth a better place. So this movie really does a good dynamic on that. Speaking of the different characters, the one I got to give credit to is Lex Luthor, and I did see a couple of other big time YouTube reviews who also loved the movie, but I also saw that some of them didn't wasn't that fond of Lex Luthor, and I'm not gonna say not fond of him, but they were, of course, they were just trying to find different things that they can criticize him on. But I thought Lex Luthor did an amazing job. Lex Luthor really makes you hate him, and that's a good villain. Marvel, of course, has always had villain problems because a lot of Marvel villains they make sense. Thanos wanting to get half of the planet because we're out of resources. I mean, that kind of makes sense. Killmonger is upset because he saw the Black Panther kill his father and then left him there, and he felt like he was supposed to be with his people in Wakanda, and they're hiding all this great technology that can help the world. So, in the Marvel universe, it's like, yeah, well, we don't. I mean, this guy's bad, but I understand what he's doing. But Lex Luthor, he just doesn't have any rhyme or reason. I mean, he does have his own personal reasons, but he's just angry and he just hates Superman for who he is. It's just like Kendrick Lamar told Drake, "I hate the way you walk. I hate the way you talk. I just hate you." And that's what Lex Luthor had against Superman. Just hated him for no reason. Had these other people that was on his team helping him, and they don't even know probably what is he doing. So Lex Luthor was awesome. I think the actor name is Ian McKellen or something like that. He also was Beast in X-Men First Class as well. So he's a terrific actor. He was the big part of this movie, and I cannot wait. They can make 4 Superman movies, and they all have Lex Luthor as the villain, and I will be locked in because that's how good he was in this movie. One of the things I think I mentioned this in the beginning, but one of the things I want to come back to is that how it felt so different than Marvel. And Marvel is a Marvel movies have always had a sense of realism to them, real life, real people. This is how it would kind of feel if superheroes were in real life, in the real New York. I mean, they even use real cities for crying out loud because Marvel had a sense of realism. Their movies had a sense of real depth into them, where you're, kind of just you're gonna balance a little action, have a little story, have a little care. Marvel has its own formula that has worked for them for the past 20 years. What I loved about DC and what James Gunn was able to do was he was able to differentiate himself from his Marvel films, or from his Marvel films and from the Marvel films in general, by making this such a nerdy comic book film. I mean, this movie it is crazy. It starts off Superman fighting, and then there's a big monster dropped in. Superman's fighting, and then people in the city, they're so used to this that they're just running. That it is gonna, for some people who wants to look at it technically, it's gonna make people mad because it's like, why don't y'all just get out the way? But it's a comic book movie, and that's real comic book. These people live in Metropolis. They're used to it. They're used to buildings falling. They're used to being on the seventh. They're used to being on the 45th floor, and Superman's up there fighting monsters, and they're getting flames, eye beams and stuff going through the glass and stuff. They're used to this stuff, so to them it's nothing. But that's what I loved about. I love the look what it looked like. It was fresh off the comic book pages. That's what was so cool about it. I mean, it just was a lot going on with that. But I know that probably won't be everybody's cup of tea, but it did differentiate itself from Marvel. We all ask the same question: why do these people live in Metropolis? Why do they live in Gotham City? In the Marvel universe, why do you live in New York? Man, if I was in a comic book movie, I would live in a small town like Vidor, Texas. I'm not going to be in no big city because I'm a target for superhero drama and trauma and destruction that I don't want to have to be a part of. So some people you might find that cool, some people you might not. So it would just let me know in the comments what you think if you've already seen the movie. One of the few criticisms that I do have about the movie is that it was a lot going on, and I think it kind of, like I said, with it being a movie that didn't have an origin story, excuse me, and you're just going into the movie and you're just going after it, and you already have this world built, you already have the Justice with the Justice Society, Justice Gang, Justice League, whatever you want to call them, you have a sense of a Justice League team. You already have these relationships. You don't really get a lot of backstory with them, but it's so much going on. You got Superman fighting going here. You got Crypto flying here. You got the Green Lantern doing this. You got Hawk Girl going here. Then you got pocket dimensions. You got stuff happening over here in a whole different dimension than the actual dimension. And then you go back to the real life. You got things splitting up. It's so much stuff happening in this movie that it can be a lot to keep up for somebody, for especially for people in the sense that's been in the Marvel universe that's used to a more simpler story. So that's the one criticism I had. We were kind of just going here, boom, 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 boom. We're kind of going here. So I didn't really feel bored though throughout the movie, even though they were going everywhere. I loved it because we were getting so much world building in one movie, and I'm okay with the world building. I know every DCU movie won't be like that, but I am okay with the world building, and that's exactly what they did in this movie. So that's just kind of one of the criticisms. I never really felt bored in this movie, and I never really felt bored at all. Just kind of, it kind of flowed really well. I did think there was one scene when it's in the trailers where Lois Lane was interviewing uh Superman in the apartment, and I thought that scene in the movie was real dragged out. But that was the only scene I felt like that. So other than that, everything kind of was moving pretty good, moving quickly, moving thoroughly, moving smoothly. I enjoyed it. Even though it was a lot going on, I still enjoyed the movie. One of the biggest criticisms that I was hearing before I went into this movie to see one of the biggest things I was hearing before I went to go see the Superman movie is that how political it was, and that Superman is an immigrant and it's the story of an immigrant and this like that. I did not I did not feel that was a thing in this movie. They did talk about political issues and Superman intervening with different countries. And like I said, this is all in the trailer, so I'm not saying any spoilers, but they did talk about that stuff. And he talked about, Superman talked about what it means to be a human, and then, and an alien. And the alien they're referring to in the movie is that he came from outer space, not an alien, like a immigrant or a legal immigrant or whatever the case can be. So if you're thinking about not if you're thinking about this movie is going to be too political or anything like that, I wouldn't necessarily believe those news articles or those YouTube channels, because I didn't get a sense of a super political movie, even though that's what the word is. They even made Fox News talking about illegal immigrants and James Gunn making statements and things like that. So I wouldn't believe none of that. The movie was not political at all. So please, if you see that and that turns you off, please, I hope that you can hear me say this, that it was not as political as people are making it seem. All in all, I gotta give this movie a 9 out of 10. It is probably my favorite movie of the year so far. I've gotta see after um Fantastic Four next week, or excuse me, Fantastic Four in 2 weeks. I can make a change on that. But right now, this is my favorite movie of the year. I walked out the theater. I felt good. I felt happy. I was excited that they have the coolest Superman cup too. I must have left it somewhere, but they have the coolest Superman cup. So if you go to the AMC theater, make sure you get the Superman cup. I think it was about $22, but it is an awesome cup that comes with a keychain and everything else, and it's worth having. It's a good durable cup. People collect Stanleys. I'm collecting movie cups, and that was one that's gonna probably be one of my favorites. And right now, it is my favorite in the collection for sure. Now, where is where is Marvel? I mean, excuse me, where is DC and James Gunn going to do, and what direction are they going to head after this? I don't know. I do know that they do have some projects coming out next year. James Gunn wants to reintroduce all the main characters and then bring them together in a Justice League. So that's going to be pretty awesome, because the way and the style of how this movie was, it gets me really excited to see a Flash, to see an Arrow, if he's going to, a Green Arrow, if he's going to make that, Wonder Woman. It makes me really excited. I just hope that each movie has its own different feel in a sense. I don't want them all to feel like this Superman movie. I love how Superman was, but I won't. Of course, the Batman's gonna be, Batman's always pretty serious for the most part. But the Flash movie and the Arrow movie, and maybe team some of them up. Flash and Arrow will be a fun movie. I don't want to see origin stories though for any of this. We know how Wonder Woman got started. We know she was on Themyscira and all that stuff. We get it. We don't need to see that anymore. We've seen Grant Gustin's Flash TV show. We've seen Ezra Miller's Flash movie. We don't need to see the Reverse Flash go back in time and kill his mother and all that stuff. We get it. We understand it. Let's not see that play out in the movies. We know Batman, his parents got killed in an alley. We don't need to see early versions of Batman like Robert Pattinson. But some of the characters that we haven't seen yet, I would love origin stories for. So the Green Lantern, Cyborg, Martian Manhunter. These would be some cool characters that I believe, if they're going to get their own solo films, that I wouldn't necessarily mind seeing an origin story on these characters. But I don't need to be a drawn out origin stories, especially like a Cyborg. I mean, you can spend some time. He was a football player, got into the accident. You can kind of go through all that, but I'm okay with flashbacks when it comes to it. But I'm excited to see James Gunn's new DCU, and this Superman movie definitely gets it started off on the right foot. So like I said, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. I enjoyed it. I had fun at the movie theaters. I would go watch it again and again if I can find the time to. I would, because I want to see different things that I might have missed. Like I said, we was able to catch a couple Easter eggs, but it was more of the Easter eggs that was kind of plain and in my face. I didn't really get to catch any of the underneath stuff that you have to kind of unpack a little bit. So let me know what you all think. If you've seen the movie, drop what you think in the comment section below. Please, no spoilers. This is not a spoiler video, so I don't want anybody that's reading the comments to be spoiled by anything that you might have seen in the movie theaters. But I want to know, what did you think about the movie? How did you leave the theater? Well, if you liked it, why did you like it? If you didn't like it, why you didn't like it? I'll be curious to see that. I would say that a lot of people, a lot of us nerds and stuff who love this stuff, we love the movie. But the actual movie critics are the ones that's being movie critics and being very critical of the film. So don't be alarmed if you see a few negative reviews, because I promise you they're probably not coming from people who enjoy comic book movies on a regular. So just keep that in mind. And then also, yes, there are 2 post-credit scenes, and no, they do not set up anything. I'm going to go ahead and just get that out to you. If you want to stay and watch them, they're still fun post-credit scenes that had to playback that call back to things that happened in the film, but there are not any world setting. There ain't no Samuel Jackson coming through the door with the patch on, and and he got the Avengers initiation. Ain't nothing like that happening in the post credit scenes, but there are 2, one in the mid credits and one at the end. So like I said, let me know what you think. Drop it in the comments below. Did you enjoy the film? Did you not? Tell me why. This your boy Peachy Perfect, and we'll be back for another movie review right here on the channel. Make sure you be there to watch it, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.